Hey guys, welcome to Reading with Mo, and today we are going to be doing a book unhaul. So I'm really trying to really get the amount of books that I own down. I have way too many. They do not fit on my shelves currently, so I'm trying to be a little bit more picky about which ones I keep after I read and everything. So today I'm going to be unhauling almost 50 books, I think it is. I could definitely do another one soon because I still have too many books. I will try not to wait so long to do one of these because I have a lot of books to get through, so definitely this is going to take a minute to get through all these books. Most of these ones are books that I have read, but a few of them are books that I haven't, that I've changed my mind on about reading for one reason or another. So let's just go ahead and get into them. I'll tell you guys why I'm getting rid of them. So the first we have is The Silent Sister by Diane Chamberlain. This one was a mystery book. With mystery thrillers, even though I enjoyed them, they're not something I really ever reread. So even if I really liked it, I'm not, unless I really liked it, I'm probably not going to hold on to it. And so this one was just okay. So I'm letting this one go. If you watched my mid-year book freakout tag, you would have seen the books I mentioned that were my biggest disappointments of the year. So I don't really want to talk about them too much more because I just talked about them. But that is That Hair by Jamelia Pereira de Almeida. This one was an ARC that I received. I just did not like this book. It's kind of very stream of conscience, and that's just not something that I go for. The same with The Starless Sea. I finished this book, and it's by Erin Morgenstern. Last month I finished it, and I just was not feeling this book at all, and I know I would never want to reread this again, so I'm just going to get rid of it, which at least it's a thick book, so it'll give me some more space, free up some more space for me. And then this one really hurts me to let go because I just think it's so beautiful, but I know it's not something I'm ever going to reread again or be like recommending and lending out to anybody, so I figured I'll just pass it on. Maybe somebody else will be really excited to find this beautiful edition at a used bookstore in perfect condition. And that's The Binding by Bridget Collins. This one was I think it was like an adult fantasy book. I had to put it into a category. It wasn't bad, it was just not something that I really loved, so I just have to be really strict about what I'm keeping on my shelves. And the same goes for A Phoenix First Must Burn by Patrice Caldwell. Well, she's the editor. This is a young adult anthology, and it's supposed to be different stories by a lot of big name writers such as Elizabeth Acevedo, Justina Ireland, Ibby Zaboy. I really I enjoyed some of the stories, some of them I didn't as much. I think what kind of let me down with this anthology was that I thought it was going, because it's described that it's going to be fantasy, sci-fi, both of them, but I felt like there was a couple of science fiction stories in here, but overall these were definitely fantasy, and just fantasy isn't a genre that I love. Like sometimes I'm into it, but it's not one of my favorite genres. So even like the last two books that I showed you guys, The Starless Sea and The Binding, they're both fantasy, and I'm letting them go because I'm just really picky when it comes to fantasy, and most of it I don't get on with, so I'm just not going to have it sitting on my shelves collecting dust. The next two books are both by the same author, and they are both mysteries, and that is A Pretty Baby by Mary Kubica and The Good Girl. I remember, I think they were just alright. They weren't, they didn't blow me away or in any type of ways, and they're not very memorable. I can't even tell you guys now what the mystery was about in either of these, but so I'm just going to be passing these on. And then we have a graphic novel. This one is called Here by Richard McGuire. I mean, I guess this would go in the graphic novel category, but it's not exactly a graphic novel. Like, we're following this one space in time through like thousands of years, and it kind of just jumps around in the timeline and showing what the space looked like, you know, back in like prehistoric times to modern day and stuff. It's very interesting. It's more of like an art project than a graphic novel exactly, but I thought it was really interesting, different, cool, but it's not something that I'm going to read again. Next we have Passing by Nella Larson, and I really like this book. The only reason I'm getting rid of this is because I bought another edition of this one. I haven't shown you guys it yet, but I'll show you it in an upcoming haul video. I really like this book, so I wanted to own a nicer copy, so I don't need to own two copies of it though, so I'm going to give this one away. Next up, I'm just going to talk about both these. Wait, I'll talk about one at a time. Okay, so the first one we have is A.J. Rich, The Hand That Feeds You. This one was a mystery thriller that I just didn't care for. The next one is another mystery. This one is Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McCreight. This one I didn't even finish. I was listening to the audiobook for this. I think I listened to the first like hour and a half. I really wasn't feeling it. I decided to look up the plot spoilers and to see if I really felt like going through this whole audiobook was going to be worth it. And looking at the reviews and looking at how the book ended, I'm glad that I decided to go ahead and skip on this one. Then we have another mystery, and this one is Salvation Station by Catherine Schleich. This one was one that I don't think it was like terrible or anything, but it wasn't like a super standout mystery. It was just okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass this one on. The next couple books are ones that I have not read. So the first one is Art History, A Very Short Introduction by Dana Arnold. So I want to say over quarantine I was kind of trying to whittle down my books that I own that I haven't read yet that I might not be interested in reading anymore, and this was one of them. I'm just not really super into reading about art history, and I think if I were to, I have another book on my shelf still about art history. Specifically this one is like so tiny and like condensed and what's the word I'm looking for? It very much reads like a textbook, and that is very dry and like scholarly writing, and it just doesn't really seem like something I would be interested in reading anymore. And we have The Painted Girls by Kathy Marie Buchanan. This one I think was like a historical fiction set in Paris following these girls who were part of the ballet. I started reading it and I kind of just didn't really feel invested in it at all. I didn't want to keep on going. Then a book that was really a disappointment. I should have probably put this on my mid-year freak out tag book video. And that was Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which this one won the Booker Prize last year with the whole controversy of 2 books being chosen by different authors. I really wanted to love this book. I got the audiobook for this as well on Audible back when I had a subscription to Audible. And I think I listened to like the first 2 stories because each chapter we're following a different woman, and it just wasn't interesting to me. It didn't keep my interest, and I just didn't really care for the characters. And I mean, I gave it a try. I think I listened to like the first hour and a half, and I just didn't feel like pushing myself through a book that just wasn't really holding my attention. Next we have A Vinegar Girl by Ann Tyler. This one was a contemporary book. It's a reimagining of William Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. And I thought this one was just okay, but not something I feel like I need to hold on to. Then we have another thriller. This one is Baby Teeth by Zoe Stage. This one, and we're following this like evil little little girl, and she wants to just kill her mother basically, is the whole premise of the novel. I just didn't care for this that much. I mean, I finished it because I wanted to know what the ending was, but overall it wasn't exactly the most enjoyable thing I've ever read, so I'm gonna go ahead and give this one away. Then we have a science fiction book. It's called Humans by Matt Haig. I think I listened to this one on audiobook and I enjoyed the book. It's just not something I see myself rereading again. We're following this alien who comes to Earth for the purpose of having to like assassinate someone. And it's supposed to be kind of more on the comedic side, with him trying to figure out how to like blend in and seem human because he like took over a human body. It was okay, and it's definitely, I would be open to reading other books by Matt Haig, but I know I'm not going to read this again. Then we have another book I didn't read. It's called The 1000 White Women, The Journals of Mary Dodd by Jim Ferguson. I read reviews on this that it was a little bit problematic and that people didn't really enjoy it that much. I started reading like the first chapter just to see if it kind of like drew me in or not, and I wasn't really interested. And after going over the plot of what this book is about, and how in what ways it was and wasn't based off of true events in history for being a historical fiction, I just felt like this is something that I would read and I would probably forget about it or not rate it very highly, so I don't want to waste my time. Same goes for this book. I've had on my shelves for forever. It's called Dreamland by Kevin Baker. I started reading like the first chapter of this book and I got a little bit into the book and I just wasn't really caring for it. It just wasn't holding my attention. This is a very long book. It's it's almost like 700 pages and I just wasn't feeling drawn to it at all, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of it. Then we have Not That Kind of Girl by Lena Dunham. This is her memoir nonfiction book that she put out that I just thought was okay. I didn't necessarily enjoy this that much when I was reading it, so I'm definitely going to get rid of it. Then we have a book that will surprise you guys, and that is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. But the only reason I'm getting rid of this one, even though I gave it 5 stars, is because I have another edition coming. I have a Folio Society edition coming, like a really nice one. So I don't need to have 2 copies of it. So I'm going to get rid of this one, so hopefully someone else can find this book and enjoy it. We have Stronger, Faster, and More Beautiful by Arwen Ellis Dayton. I enjoyed this book. I just know it's not something I'm going to reach for reading again. This one is a young adult dystopian novel. Then we have How to Find Love in the Bookshop by Veronica Henry. This one was a adult contemporary novel following a woman who owns a bookshop, and I can't even remember too much about this book right now, so it really just didn't leave a strong impression on me, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Then we have Vacuum in the Dark by Jen Began. This one as well just didn't leave a strong impression on me. I remember not caring too much for this book, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Then we have The Bookshop by Penelope Fitzgerald. This one, I like this book. I just don't see myself reading it again. I watched the movie adaptation for it as well, and yeah, I think it was okay. I'm not gonna read it again. And the same goes for Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet by Jamie Ford. I did enjoy this book, but I just know it's not something I'm going to read again. And I could say the same thing for Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I know this one could be a bit controversial because I know a lot of people really love this book. I don't think it was a bad book, but I just didn't love it as much as I anticipated I was going to when I went into reading it. But I feel like if I want to ever read it again, I can go ahead and like get a copy from my library, or I can buy it again, but I just know it's not something I have plans to reread anytime soon. But it's one that I would definitely be open to rereading, maybe after like another year or 2 has passed since my first time that I read it. So the next few books, I haven't read any of these ones, so I can't tell you too much about them. Basically, I looked up reviews on them, and I reread the plot summaries on the back, and I started reading like the first few pages to see if I would be drawn into the story or not, and just for one reason or another I didn't connect to these books, so I'm going to get rid of them. They've been sitting on my shelf for a long time, so if I haven't read them now, I know I'm not going to read them. And that is Infinite Home by Kathleen Alcott. And then we have The Book Borrower by Alice Madison. We have one play. I really tried to get into this. I think it's very short. I think I got to page like 10 or 15, and I just could not follow it. It wasn't interesting to me. It was kind of boring. And that is Arthur Miller, All My Sons. This is probably a play that's best seen live. I just didn't really care for this. And then we have Amanda Wakes Up by Alison Camerota. I'm not super into like light-hearted women's contemporary fiction, I guess is the category that I would put this in. I think this one we're following a girl who's like a news reporter or a news anchor or something. I read the first few pages and I just didn't care what was happening in this book. Then we have a book, I know it's kind of controversial online when I was like looking at reviews and stuff about it. It's A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. This was a Book Oprah's Club pick. I think the author passed some things off saying this is a nonfiction book, but later like they had to redact that, saying there were some parts of this book that the author did make up and that they aren't true. I could look past that. Like a book doesn't have to be 100% true, even though, I mean, if you're saying a book is true, it probably should be. But I just started reading the first part of it and I just wasn't interested, and I didn't think it was that great of writing, so I gave up on this one. The same with this essay collection that I tried to get into, but it just wasn't clicking with me, and that was I Miss You When I Blink by Mary Laura Philpott. This one is kind of a newer release, but I was just reading. I think just the subject matter of it wasn't very interesting to me. I don't even remember what these essays are about. I don't know, I just felt like I couldn't connect or feel for the issues that the author is writing about in this book. I think it's supposed to be a memoir, but I don't know. Sometimes people think their lives are more interesting than they are. Not to be mean, but it just was kind of boring. So I don't know. Memoirs / self-help are just like really hit and miss for me. So this one I just didn't want to force myself to finish reading. Next we have The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I've been holding on to this one because I was thinking of reading the I think it's called The Boy on the Bridge. It's like a prequel to this book. I still may read it sometime in the future, but I know even if I do, I'm not going to be rereading this one. And I already watched the movie adaptation for it, so I feel like my time with this book is good. It wasn't a bad book at all. I think I remember that I enjoyed it, but I just don't have any desire to reread it. The same goes with The Fair Fight by Anna Freeman. I really did enjoy this book, but I just know it's not one that I'm going to read again. Then we have Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. I'm going to be getting rid of this one, but I do plan on repurchasing it eventually. There's like, I think the 4th book in this series is coming out later on this year, and I want to get all of them in the same. They just like released all of the books in new covers, so I want to get them where they all match because I am lame like that. So I'm going to get rid of this one, and then eventually I will own it again. Now we're on to the last few books. These are all books that I read last month that I am going to be getting rid of. I'm just trying to be really picky about what books I hold on to after I read them, like, to be really honest. And I would love to keep every book, all of these books actually, if I had the space for it, but I just don't, so I need to be picky, and I'm going to be getting rid of some I did like, some I thought that were okay, but just ones I know I'm not going to be reading again. The first one is The Ballroom by Anna Hope. This one is a like historical fiction book. Then we have Come Me In by Natasha Diaz. This one is a young adult contemporary book, and I did like this one. I didn't really care for The Ballroom, but I did like this one. I just know I'm not going to read it again. Also, Book of the Month editions are my favorite editions of books anyway. Then we have A Dreamland Burning by Jennifer Latham. I did enjoy this book. It's like partly historical-ish fiction, and partly in one of the timelines is modern day, but I did enjoy this one, and I hope that someone can discover this book and enjoy it as well. We have Before Versailles by Carleen Cohen, another historical fiction book following King Louis XIV of France. This one I thought was good. I think I gave it 3 stars, but I just don't need to hold on to it. This book I bought for my book club that I'm a part of that we read last month, Before You Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. I just know I'm not going to read this one again either. And the same goes for In Other Words by Junpo Lahiri. I enjoyed this book. I would even recommend it to people, but it's not one that I feel like I'm going to be rereading again. So those are all the books. That was quite a few to get to. I'm sorry if you guys wanted to hear a little bit more of in-depth thoughts on each of these. I just don't really have it in me today. And that was a lot of books, and I didn't want this video to be like a whole hour long of me telling you why I'm deciding to get rid of all of these books. I think this will be long enough as it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing these books that I'm unhauling. I don't know, maybe you're sad that I'm getting rid of some books that you enjoyed, but I really just have to be strict about what I'm keeping on my shelves so that my room does not become drowning in books, which it basically already is anyway. Ideally, by the end of the year, I would like to get rid of another like 50 to 100 books if I could get myself to somehow. I don't know. I mean, I plan on moving eventually, and I don't want to have to move all of these books. It's going to be such a hassle, I know. So I'm trying to start working on it now so I don't have to have as much pain then going through and purging my books. So I'll see you guys in the next one. That's it for this video. Bye!